I'm angry. Actually, when I think about it, I'm not angry. I'm fucking devastated of the state of the movie industry. Specifically, the state of Artemis Fowl. Today we're going to talk about the new Disney movie that came out on Disney Plus a couple days ago, called Artemis Fowl. So I've seen a few reviews of this movie, although to be fair they're a bit lackluster in the sense that they don't really review the books and the movie together, which is fair because if you make a movie review, you just review the movie. But I want to talk about this movie from the perspective of someone that's read the books, but not just read the books. I grew up with this shit. So Artemis Fowl is a book series written by Irish author Owen Colfer, and it was released in 2001. There are 7 mainline books, and it's about Artemis Fowl, who is a 12-year-old criminal mastermind that discovers the existence of fairies that live underneath ground, pretty much. The story follows as he kidnaps a fairy police officer to hold her captive for ransom money to then restore his family fortune. Or at least that's what the book's about. I have no fucking idea what the movie is about at this point. So I grew up with Artemis Fowl along with Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, and other similar children or young teenager books. And as a fan, this was my first fandom, like my first ever proper obsession. I wrote fanfiction about this shit. I was 10, I didn't know what fanfiction was, but to be honest, it's probably better than this. So of course, when the movie was announced in 2013 for then release date 2014, I was obviously extremely fucking excited along with the rest of the fan base. But this was not the first time an Artemis Fowl adaptation has been announced. As early as 2001, when the book got released, Owen Colfer talked about an adaptation for Artemis Fowl. The screenplay got finished in 2003 and was in development hell until 2011. So then in 2013, it got taken up by Disney, who then scheduled a release date for 2014. And then it got delayed again until 2017, when they then announced it for 2019 August. And then finally, it got delayed one single time until 2020, and then it was dumped on Disney Plus. We've waited years for this. Some people since 2013, some older audiences from as long as 2001. The fandom was fucking excited. I was excited. Everyone was pumped about this shit. People have waited years for this. Some even as long as 2001 of the older audience in the fandom. And I've waited since 2013. We were excited as hell for this to finally get released, but there was a lingering worry in the back of our head that this was not gonna go well. And that worry came from the teaser trailer. When I first saw the trailer, there was a couple of things that I immediately noticed and disliked. First of all, it was the casting. One of the things that really just just got to me was that piercing blue eyes of one of the characters. That's just like a minor thing, but I don't know, it really distracted me during the entire movie. And all of this I could deal with. But there was one thing that really made the gears in my head turn, and that was the change of Commander Root's gender to female. Like, what? You have this like asshole cop fucking character, and you turn him into a woman? Like, I don't fucking get it. But that's not my main issue with Commander Root not being male is not for the fact that him in of itself as a character being female. It's just what that means for the arcs of the different characters. So I'm not gonna go fully into what this is about yet, but basically what this means is that there is a character, her name is Holly, which is a girl fairy captain that gets kidnapped. Her entire story arc changes because of this. Because her main motivation to do things is because she always gets described as, she is the first female captain in the police force, in the underground police force. And she gets so much shit for this. So much fucking shit. And that just changes her entire character arc. She just has no motivation anymore. Unless they change it. That's the thing. So you have this character who's one of her main motivations is to prove herself that she's not just as capable as the male officers, she's better than the male officers, and no one listens to her. That's why she gets into so much fucking trouble. That's why she gets kidnapped in the first place. Because she is this reckless. She is this determined to prove herself. And that's an interesting thing. But by changing his gender, you've completely ruined that. You completely ruined that motivation. How are they gonna fix this? How are they gonna salvage this? And I thought to myself, alright, you could fix it by giving her a new motivation. If they do that, and it's half as interesting as her being the only female captain, that arc, then I would be okay with it. They just have to figure out a new arc for her and a new arc for the new commander, which I don't mind. This is an adaptation, not a complete, it's not following the book by its entirety. And that's fine. But that's only if they get it. So I had my hopes up that maybe they could make this work. So I sat myself down with a couple of friends, I grabbed my Capri Sun, I grabbed my fucking snacks, and I sat down and I started to watch this movie. Another thing that I noticed when I finished this movie was that a lot of the scenes from the trailer was not even present. But there was one scene in the teaser trailer that stuck out. So if you've seen the teaser, there's a scene with the flying woman in the white gown. So what happens in that scene, spoiler alert, Artemis finds out about the existence of fairies. He finally finds one. The first fairy that he finds is a drunken alcoholic fairy on the streets of Hong Kong. She has lost all her magical abilities because of alcohol problems, because in their Bible, in the book that it's called, which is the Fairy Bible, it states that you should not take in human pleasures, pretty much. And there's other things that you don't that you're not allowed to do, like walking into a house without being uninvited, and you always have to do what the host says and stuff like that. And if they do break those rules, they slowly lose their magical abilities and slowly die, pretty much. Which they tried to put in the movie, by the way, and was totally left out and unexplained. But in the scene, he finds this drunken fairy, and he asks her to see the book, to record the book, pretty much, to get an upper hand on fairies. He's like, hey, if you give me your book to let me see through it, I will give you back your magic. And so she lets him see the book. She gives her a syringe, and she starts to feel pain, and she's like, you fucking idiot, you fucking poisoned me, didn't you? And he turns around and he says, no, I didn't poison you. I didn't say that cleansing your body of like years of like 60 plus years of alcohol would be a painless process. And he walks away as she screams in pain. And I thought to myself, all right, you know what? I get why they didn't put this in the movie. But that still confirms my suspicions that they dumbed it down fairly alright. But there was nothing more than I expected, although it still disappointed me. But let's also talk about just how much this ruins the plot and characters from the original books. So they crammed the two first books into the movie, which I don't get. There's more than enough source material to go around from the first book. So at first I didn't get why they could have just followed the book to the point. But then I realized that they probably just wanted it to be more marketable for children. There was not much love put into this movie, let's just say. Which makes me really sad, because Owen Colfer was confirmed to be working on this alongside with it. And he's also been working alongside it with it throughout the entirety. But I think when Disney picked it up, he must have lost touch, because I can't imagine, as an author, just this complete disrespect of the source material, allowing this, even from supervision, to be dumped like this. It's so bad, and I don't get I'm so disappointed in Owen Colfer for this. The second biggest insult to the source material is not just a lack of understanding of all the characters in the book, it's the lack of understanding of the main character that's supposed to be running this entire operation. It doesn't help that this was also the actor's first ever role, which, he was very bad. I feel bad for the kid, because he must have read up on this, and then he gets this shitty script. And he just has to work with what he has. But he was not really a good actor. And I feel really bad for him that this is what he has to get known for. So to get an understanding of both the book version of Artemis and the movie version of Artemis, you just have to look at the core principles of the characters. In the books, Artemis is a criminal mastermind, described and acts like it. He's a genius, he is a criminal. Straight up. There's no denying it. He commits crimes, he steals from banks, he steals money, he steals art, he commits scams, all that garbage. He does everything. The biggest fucking crime that movie Artemis committed was being a fucking crybaby. And the most genius thing that he did was solving a word puzzle. He did nothing. In the movie, he did absolutely nothing. He doesn't do anything himself. In the movie, his father is the one that discovers the fairies. That's also a thing that I just thought about now. As a criminal, wouldn't you want to exploit the existence of fairies? But Artemis doesn't do anything himself. He uses weapons, as I mentioned in the trailer. He does that in the movie too. A fucking 12-year-old is using weapons. In the books, he knows he's not capable of handling weapons, so he doesn't. And first of all, Butler would never fucking allow him to hold a fucking gun. But the main takeaway from this is very simply said. In the movies, he's the hero, shown very simply by the fact that they put the second book's villain into the first book, when in the books, Artemis is the villain. And that's the thing. That's the biggest insult to me. The fact that in the book, that was the interesting thing, you know? He was the main character, he was the villain, there's nothing else that interferes with the plot. He is the villain, straight up. He kidnaps a fairy, tries to get money from her, and he does, he succeeds. He gets the ransom money that he wants. And he becomes like one of the most known criminals in the fairy world after that. He's not a good person. And he's not shown as not being a good person. There's nothing nice about him. But in the movie, he straight up becomes best friends with the fucking fairy he kidnapped like 40 minutes into the movie. I don't get it. And Holly would never have accepted that. Holly took 4 books to even warm up to the idea that they were friendly with each other, much less fucking friends. This is insane. Such a complete lack of understanding of the basics of every character in this book. So as I said, the main villain of the movie is Opal Cowboy, which is the main villain in the second book, who's a complete ass, by the way, in comparison to her role in the books, which makes me sad because she's such an interesting character, and the people that get introduced to this franchise with this movie sees this lackluster, fucking deep-voiced, fucking boo-ass villain, and that's all they're gonna see. They made such an interesting villain, a genius scientist who planned a revolution against the LEP underground police force with the motivation of framing her scientific rival and getting complete control of the underground. A crazy genius, an amazing character, just reduced to this basic ass, rogue looking ass villain talking with a deep ass voice and just being fucking creepy. What a fucking shit show. My favorite part about the books was the fact that Artemis was the main villain. It's the main character as the villain. Such an interesting premise. And I still believe that Artemis is one of the best examples of a good written, like, anti-hero that's the main character in a book series, especially for children. It makes you feel sympathy towards the villain because you know his motives. But you still know what he's doing is bad, and you still know that he's a bad person, but he grows during the books and becomes a better person, gets a more better understanding of who he is as a person. He straight up grows up with you. If you read this as like a 12-year-old, as a kid, you grow up with Artemis to see the person that he becomes to be, the great person that he becomes to be. But with this, he's just reduced to nothing. Makes me sad. There was such a complex relationship between Artemis and the fairy people. This adaptation is the biggest insult to a main character from a book franchise I've ever seen. So hopping a bit further, my hopeful expectations for Holly's arc and Commander Root's arc was crushed immediately because Commander Root is the same as always. though a bit bland, and Holly has been reduced to the most basic ass side character I've ever seen. She was fierce, she was badass, her motivation stemmed from cockiness, she was the best officer despite being the first female captain, she wanted to prove herself to be the best, recklessness got her to be kidnapped in the first place, now she's just annoying, she's bland, her only character trait is, my father is dead and I'm gonna go find him talk about fucking daddy issues, both of the characters, both the main character and her. Actually, when I think about it, the movie is just Daddy Issues the movie. I should just rename that. Since both Artemis and Holly is coping from the same loss from losing their dads, they both have the same boring motivation. They couldn't even be bothered to find a different motivation for Holly's character than my father and my father dad. It's like, they didn't even try. So I've talked about the negatives and all the shit things about this movie. But let's talk about some positive things, actually, for once. So my first thing is, Judi Dench was great, honestly. As an actor, she was pretty great. But as Commander Root, she was fine, despite the shit that she was given to work with. But it came at the cost of Holly's character, which is not fucking worth it, and also Root's arc, which is a shame because she's a very charismatic actor, and I do love her. Another one they nailed straight on the head, though, was Mulch Diggums, which is the dwarf who breaks into the mansion. They pretty much just nailed him on the head. Josh Gad was a perfect fit for his character, but he's mostly comedy relief in the books as well, and it's pretty hard fucking up a comedy relief character. Butler was bland, okay at best. As I said, his piercing blue eyes just kept fucking distracting me throughout the entire movie. I don't remember half of what he said. Juliet, Butler's sister, although cousin in the movie, didn't do anything, although can't complain, she didn't do much in the first book anyway. Although I did hear that apparently she was the one who first wanted to be cast as Holly, which I would have loved. I wish we could have got that instead of this fucking nobody. I'm so mad that fucking didn't happen now, honestly. They could have chosen so much better people for the cast. Foley, oh my god, the actor for Foley, I like him. I honestly don't mind him, but as with Judi Dench, he got a shit script to work with. His dialogue was just laughable. But him as an actor, I did not mind. Although I do wish he had more of a scruffy science, mad scientist vibe. Because in the books, he's more of a, he's paranoid. He's one of the last centaurs alive. So he's paranoid about getting killed, about getting probed. He wears a tinfoil hat. And I just would have loved to see that, the scruffy scientist look with the tinfoil hat. But yeah, I don't know, he was fine, I guess. So what's my overall conclusion and opinion about this movie? So there was a few things that I liked, which I talked about, which was mostly just vibes, characters being done okay at best, and like some effects pretty much, but it all got overshadowed extremely by the bad things. It's completely different from the main books, with instead of Artemis going around, trying to get money, he is gonna get this holy fucking MacGuffin, all powerful fucking weapon shit that isn't really specified to do anything. And I can just say that straight up, that thing is not in the books, and I'm so fucking glad it isn't, because it's the lamest plot point you can ever put in a movie. Don't do that shit. It was exactly as feared. The movie is bland, it's awful to sit through, confusing, even for a person who's read the books and can understand all the references and all the characters. For me, it was fucking confusing. They crammed way too much into it. They crammed both of the first two books into it, when the first book has more than enough source material to go around. You don't need to put the second book in it, but they did. I've forgotten completely everything about it, despite having read the books, despite knowing everything. I completely forgot about it in a day. I had to rewatch the movie a day after to write the script for this. I couldn't remember anything. The effects looks like something that was made in 2010. Some of the effects were like fucking Spy Kids level of garbage. They introduced half-made characters that had no time to develop at all. There was so much shit happening at once and nothing at the same time. The characters are boring, bland, zero motivation because they removed it completely. You don't give a single fuck about them. Even when Butler died, or almost died at the end of the movie, not even Artemis gave a shit. The scripting makes the fanfiction that I made when I was 10 seem like a piece of art in comparison. The main villain is present for a total of like 4 scenes, didn't count, don't care, doesn't do anything but scream and be creepy. Let's be a hooded fucking bastard, and nothing else. So, this movie is a disaster. I would not recommend this to anyone under the age of 5 if you want to fucking distract your 5-year-old kid. And honestly, even your 5-year-old kid would probably think this was trash, which makes them smarter than Artemis in the movie at least. It's such a shame too. The fandom has been like waiting for like 10 years plus for this to get released, some even 19 years, and all we get is this lackluster garbage. After so many fucking years of development, you'd think it would be good, right? You think they'd have time to think about what they would put in this. But no. And that's a good lesson to you all, that just because it takes a long ass time doesn't mean that it's always gonna be good. So I think that's it for me. I think I'm done. I've ranted so hard about this movie for days, and I finally got this shit out. What I do recommend though is that you read the books if you're interested in what I've been talking about when it comes to the books. If you're not interested though, I would also recommend, if you have kids or if you have younger siblings or anything, make them read these books. This is what got me into reading, and I highly recommend it. Just never show them the movie. Just say that it doesn't exist. Alright, so let's get the elephant out of the room. Where the fuck have I been? Well, you see, I'm lazy. Alright, so I've been doing just lots of garbage. I have no excuse. The only reason why I'm here now in the first place is my fueled anger, my nostalgia-fueled fucking anger towards this movie. But I'm planning to make more videos. I have another video that I'm working on currently that I think you guys would enjoy. But if you did enjoy and are new to this channel, I would appreciate if you could, subscribe. But also follow me on Twitter, where I would most likely update on my videos that I've been working on. And also just post garbage. Or my Discord server. So yes, please tell me what you thought about this. Any criticism, always welcome. If you just want to chat with me, you know where to find me. Alright, see ya! Bye!